Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Love Meets Literature. I am your host, Rachel, and you can find me on Instagram at Paperbacks and Sketchbooks.
And I am your other host, Joe, and you can find us at Love Meets Literature.
You can find us on every corner of the internet, so please do give us a follow. It will help us immensely. We are quickly approaching the new year, which is arguably one of my favorite times of the year. It's always like a fresh start. So with the new year coming, we have to start thinking of goals. Goals. Doesn't everyone think of goals for the new year?
New Year's resolutions.
Yes, which I personally never stick to. But it's fun for me to just think about things that I would like to change, things I would like to accomplish, fun little things like that. It's more fun for me to create reading goals, though, which is what today's episode is going to be about. We're going to be discussing some reading and bookish goals that we have going into 2025.
2025 doesn't even feel like it's a real year.
It does not sound like a real year at all. I cannot fathom that we're already going to be in 2025. Where did 2005 go?
Right.
So before we jump into our goals, how has your past reading week been? Or I guess past reading few weeks? We missed a week in there somewhere for our travels. So how's it been going with the reading?
Well, my goal of listening to the audiobooks while driving fell through immediately.
Yes, it did.
I was too worried about listening to you and the cat in the back and making sure I had my wits about me.
We were fine. I was just chatting to her. She was good.
But besides that, I picked up The Hobbit and I've been reading that and I'm using Libby for it. And I actually was reading the physical, or not physical, but the eyeball version because it just happened to be available. Because halfway through reading it, then I was able to get the audiobook version. So I've now swapped and I listened to the audio and then on occasion I've also read a chapter and it's been really good. The audiobook on this one is again really good. It is one guy doing voices, which is my least favorite version of an audiobook. But I think I've come around to it. I used to be a big hater. Now I'm trying to be positive about it. And I think it's been pretty good. It is not annoying voices, I guess. And so it doesn't really bother me.
Audiobooks would be too weird if the narrator didn't change their voice for different characters, though, because then it would just be like me reading a story to you.
I know, but I think I so often hear a narrator do a voice that I feel like does not match the character at all. And that's what kind of ruins my immersion.
Well, it's not always supposed to match the character. It's mostly so readers can differentiate which character is speaking in a dialogue sequence.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. It's just personally.
You should try listening to a graphic audio.
I don't know what that is.
It's read more of like, so it's still your book, but they don't always say like, he said this, she said that. They'll just have the voice actors go into what they're saying, and then they'll have the background noises. Like if someone's cooking in the kitchen, you'll hear kitchen noises in the background.
That's kind of how they did the certain scenes with Ender's Game, where it was just like a movie. It was like dialogue. It wasn't, then Inspector said this.
Yeah.
I would like that probably a lot better, actually.
Well, you can listen to ACOTAR in graphic audio.
Do they have all of them in graphic audio?
I don't know. I would have to look that up because I feel like I wouldn't like graphic audio, so I haven't looked too much into it because I feel like the background noises would drive me up a wall. Also, I'm not much of an audiobook listener anyway. Also, graphic audios, if you don't get them from the library, are kind of pricey.
That's immediately what I was thinking, is it probably because the production value is going to be more expensive, but
yeah, I do know a lot of people love graphic audios though, so maybe it's worth giving a shot if you can find it on Libby.
It's true. I would certainly try it out. So I've been reading The Hobbit. How has your reading weeks been?
They've been pretty good. I've been reading a lot of snowy, wintry, Christmassy holiday things. I currently read Christmas in Aspen by Anita Hughes, and it was pretty good actually. It read like a Hallmark movie. I mean, it wasn't like the most mind blowing thing I've ever read. It had like cheesiness to it and whatnot, and I had some qualms with it, but it was a 4-star read for me, so it was pretty good. It followed this one girl, Caroline, and she was trying to figure out who her late mother's lover was because he sent this letter through Santa's little red mailbox in Aspen and it got to her. And so then she decided to go to Aspen to see who he is. And the thing with that was that she couldn't figure out who he was until New Year's Eve because that's when he was going to be at the mailbox waiting for her mother. So the entire story is basically leading up to the ending. There were a lot of other things happening in the story, which I thought it was entertaining, but some things I was just like, this is a little not the plot. But overall, like the journey to get to the ending was fun. I liked it. I wish some things could have been better because our main character, Caroline, was also supposed to be having this romance with this guy in Aspen named Max. But that kind of got sidelined a little bit because Caroline is also a New York City publishing house editor. So she was also trying to figure out how to obtain a new manuscript to give to her boss. And so she met an aspiring writer in Aspen. So then that kind of took some of the focus away from her budding romance and went to that. And then her sister's also eloping in Aspen. So then she had that to deal with as well. So, like, there's just a lot of moving parts to this journey to the ending where she finds out who her late mother's lover was. And she has to tell him, hey, my mother passed away, which is kind of awkward. But
Yeah, I can't imagine having that conversation.
But I really did enjoy the ending because I was not expecting this guy to be who the guy was. I had like a little bit of an inkling. I'm not going to spoil it, but I liked it. It was like a pleasant surprise and it made the whole story like a lot more wholesome.
Oh, that's good.
So it's just like a lighthearted, wholesome story with this like underlying dark element of Caroline and her sister having to cope with their mother's death, which is very Hallmark movie.
That's true, yeah.
So I enjoyed it. Christmas in Aspen by Anita Hughes. Great holiday read. The Aspen vibes were perfect. I've never been to Aspen, but now I feel like I need to go to Aspen so I can experience it during the holidays. We might have to go there one Christmas.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've only heard good things, so.
Same. But that book was really good. And then I've been reading some shorter novella type stories by Noelle Adams. It's her Holiday Acres series. So I read Stranded on the Beach and Stranded in the Snow. They were fine. They're under 200 pages, so they're fast reads, they're romances, they're lighthearted. Characters are great. I was not expecting it to be as spicy as it was. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. I'm not anti-spice. It's just I'm not expecting a spicy novel based on what your illustrated cover is. So that's like, I go in blind to books. I don't read the synopsis. So just judging the book on its cover, I would not expect it to be as spicy as it was. So that kind of threw me for a little loop with those, but now I'm like intrigued by the story, so I need to continue the series anyway. So that's what I will be doing.
Well, there you go. I still think your idea of putting a little spice meter on like the back of a book is a genius idea. Like people really need to just do like a little, because you know how they always do like the chili peppers?
That was your idea. That wasn't my idea.
Oh, I thought you came up with that.
No, you came up with that.
Oh, well, look, I'm so smart. Look at that. But I still think it's a good idea. Like just a like right on the label, right on the back, nice and small. So that way it's like not taking up the aesthetic of the book or whatever, but just a little thing to say, hey, this is going to be very spicy or not spicy at all, or obviously somewhere in between.
I could see how some people would appreciate that, but I could see how that could also be kind of controversial because everyone's meanings of the chili peppers are different. Like one person could think like one chili pepper means something when another person thinks one chili pepper means like no spice.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just too ambiguous, I think, for publishers to try and categorize it that way, which is why we would just have to go off of reader reviews.
That's fair. I think it is a tough sort of problem. It's not really a problem, but a tough thing to do if they were to do it properly. So it sounds like you've got a nice lineup of novellas then to read.
I do. They are short, so they're quick to read, and I can finish them in a timely manner.
There you go.
So, with it being almost the new year, one thing I always loved about the new year is New Year's Eve. It's just you can stay up as late as you want. You can eat as much as you want. You could do whatever you want. It's New Year's Eve. So, what does your ideal New Year's Eve look like?
I guess I haven't really thought about it too much. I mean, I always think of New Year's Eve as what you said, the opportunity to stay up and the opportunity to just eat food and drink fun drinks, whether they're cocktails or mocktails or anything in between. I would say the ideal New Year's Eve is I'm not a really big, well, you know this, I'm not a very big going out person. I like to stay inside. So ideally, it's at home with a bunch of snacks, some fun drinks, staying up to watch the ball drop. I like to watch all of them, like the East Coast one, the Chicago one. I think they do another one too in San Diego or LA or something like that. I usually don't stay up for that one though. That's too late. That's like 2 a.m.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with all those ball drops. I only know the New York one. Nobody watches the Chicago one. Why would you watch the Chicago ball drop?
I mean, I do it because, that's like when our midnight actually is. But most of the time, yeah, everyone just does the New York ball drop.
Yeah, because then you get to go to bed at 11 p.m.
That's also true. I do love, and it's the only time of year where I can seem to find it, which is the sparkling white grape juice. When I was younger, that's what we used to drink instead of, because like all the parents would have champagne or whatever, and then the kids would get sparkling white grape juice, and it was delicious, and I love it.
The sparkling white grape juice is better than champagne anyway.
That's what I always said. I remember being younger, being like, if this tastes good, imagine what champagne tastes like. And then I got older and I was like, this stuff's terrible. Give me back the grape juice.
Yeah, the grape juice is delicious. They should sell it year round, which they might, because I feel like one year I did find it when it was not New Year's.
I feel like it's like random. Like you'll stumble upon it and be like, oh, look at that. And then, grab it if you want. But I feel like the only time you can find it consistently is the New Year's time. I like to try to get at least one. Maybe not every year, but every few years.
Well, I'm obsessed with food. I'm trying to come up with the best snack menu for New Year's Eve. I've been saving all of these things on Instagram. I don't know if I'll actually go out of my way to make any of them. I might make you make them. I don't like cooking. But obviously you have to have the little shrimp cocktail tray. That's
right,
classic
yes.
New Year's. You have to have some cheese and crackers, obviously. But then you can make like little fun things. No one eats a real dinner on New Year's Eve. If you eat a real dinner on New Year's Eve, you're weird. I'm sorry, but you're weird.
It's true.
You just eat snacks on New Year's Eve. That's what you do. But that's why you have a variety of snacks. You have like some meats for your protein. You've got cheeses, you got nuts, you got shrimp. You got all the food groups on New Year's Eve. I'm more into the savory snacks, not so much the sweet ones, because I'll go into a sugar coma and fall asleep by 10 p.m. I won't even make it to the New York City ball drop. So I'm excited to eat all the food. That's what I keep looking forward to.
That's fair. I think that's very true, though. When I think about years past, I cannot think of a single time that I actually like ate a real meal on New Year's. It's just like snacking on everything.
Yeah, I don't think we ever ate a real dinner on New Year's Eve. We just put all the snacks out on the table, turned on the TV, and just watched TV and ate snacks all night.
We also used to do those little cocktail dogs, in like the sauce.
I was just thinking about those.
Yeah, those are so good.
You read my mind. I want to do like little meatballs.
Yeah.
I think those would be so good.
We used to do I don't know what they were called. I called them jelly meatballs because they had that kind of sweet. It might have been actual jelly. I don't know, but those are always so good. And then of course you have the classic veggie tray with all the veggies and the dip in the center.
No one eats the vegetables though.
No, I would only eat like the celery, and then it would just be like, someone would come over and eat like one thing.
The vegetables are there as a palate cleanser.
Right. Because you just ate like 10 cocktail dogs and 5 meatballs and 11 cookies, and now you're like, oh, I should probably eat a vegetable.
I should eat a vegetable. Yep, it's called balance.
Exactly.
So I'm very excited for New Year's Eve. I don't want to go anywhere on New Year's Eve. I just feel like someone's going to try and invite us somewhere, and I'm going to have to say no. New Year's Eve is my day to sit at home alone. Well, not alone, but like with you and the cat.
I know what you mean, though.
Eat all my snacks. I don't want to socialize on New Year's Eve.
Well, the nice part, too, is you make all the snacks and everything on New Year's Eve, and if you stay home, then on New Year's Day, you can continue the snack eating throughout the day.
Continue the snack eating. I guess so. Well, I mean, New Year's is in the middle of the week this year. So unfortunately,
yeah,
January 2nd, we will be going back to work.
It is a very odd spot this time.
It is. But that's not going to stop me from eating everything in sight.
Oh, no, certainly not. It's not going to stop me either.
So with the new year coming on, I am ready to discuss some bookish goals. I have quite the list. I came up with about 10 goals that I would actually like to put into practice in 2025. I did buy a reading planner for 2025 that I am super excited about. It is from the Book Sisters shop, which unfortunately I think their shop is closed for the remainder of the year because they sold out of their planners. So I was lucky to scoop one up, and no, this is not sponsored. I'm just raving about this planner because I'm in love with it. I've already started getting stuff ready inside for when January 1st comes and I can start filling it out, planning my Bookstagram content, getting serious about Bookstagram. I feel like I slack sometimes. And 2025, I'm going to be like a real book influencer. I'm going to do it. I'm trying to like soft launch like my face on there because accounts that show their faces do so much better in terms of engagement and growth because people like to see who is posting.
It's interesting. I guess I never really thought about it, but I mean, that makes sense.
I never show my face. I'm like a faceless Bookstagram right now. I think I have like maybe 1 or 2 things with my face in them up there because I'm shy. I don't want people to stare at me through their phone screen.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
So we're going to try new things in 2025. The first one being that I'm going to stop acting like reading is a contest. Whenever I see people reading like 30 books in 1 month, I'm like, how do you have time to do this? But also, why can't I read 30 books in 1 month?
That's so many books.
It's so many books in 1 month. And it's like, how do you do it? Because I feel like I physically would not be able to do that unless reading was actually my full-time job.
That's the only way I can see that being realistic. I mean, well, that's not true. There's probably multiple ways, but for the average person, that really does seem like you're getting done with like your work and you're just reading until bedtime.
Yeah, which I mean, I've done it before, but I don't really read that fast. So I can only really get through maybe 200 pages in the hours between dinner time and when I fall asleep.
I mean, you do read like, when you get really into a book, you read it in like 2 days. Like it's very, very fast.
Yeah, but that's like the average reading time for me. It's like 2 days to finish a 300-page book. That's 150 pages a day, which is doable for me. But in 2025, I just want to stop feeling like reading is a contest because it's not a contest. I can read as little or as much as I want, and I'm still a reader.
That's true. You are.
Well, what do you want to do in 2025?
I mean, my first goal is to just read more in general. To not make it a contest, but my direct comparison is you. And you read like 4 times as many books as I do.
Well, I can finish like 3 or 4 books in a week.
Yeah, I cannot.
Like everyone reads at different paces. I mean, you could probably like make it a goal to read like 1 book a week, because then that's 7 days to finish 1 book.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I wanted to, well, so I just want to read more in general. And I think that involves me creating like an actual goal or what I thought about was a reading challenge and challenge myself to read like one book a week, or I was also thinking like 3 books a month, because then that's like slightly over a week for each book. It's like 10 days a book. And I think that's probably pretty feasible for me, because when I get into the rhythm, I read a lot. My problem is that once I fall out of the rhythm, it's hard to get back into it. And it's not like a slump. It's more so like I just get distracted with other things, and then I don't go back to reading. So that's why I've been doing the audiobooks. Those have helped. But my main thing is just to read more in general.
Well, I think that's a good goal.
I think everyone could have that goal.
Yeah, hey, if I tried reading more in general, I would not have time to do anything else.
That's true. Maybe you've got a good balance.
I am maxed out with how much I can read. And in 2025, I also want to read more of what I know I will enjoy. Like, I'm not just going to pick up a book because it's super hyped on Instagram or the internet is telling me it's an anticipated new release. If I don't think I'm going to like it, I will not be picking up that new release, no matter how many people tell me it's amazing.
I think that's a really good goal to have, actually, because I think a lot of the times when I think back to when we've talked and you've talked about a slump, it's been after something that like was hyped and then you didn't love it. But maybe that's just the most recent example I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone on the internet has fantastic tastes. Everyone's tastes are different too. So
True.
I'm not always going to like your super hyped, popular new fantasy book.
True.
My brain might want to like it, but if I'm just not liking it, it's not. It's going to cause me to slump hard, and that's not fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I mentioned the reading challenge, but that's what I've got listed for my number 2, which is, and now that we've talked about it a little bit, I probably actually will create an official reading challenge for myself to try to encourage me to read more. Not only for this, but also because I'm finally starting to get a backlog on my TBR and actually get myself to knock some of those things off and read those. But now that I say it out loud, I think 3 books a month is probably going to be a good point for me. So that's 36 books a year. Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think another way to maximize my reading will be to not worry about not finishing a book.
So like letting yourself DNF a book?
Yeah, like if I'm not into it, like
Right.
just, toss it aside, because if I'm not enjoying your book by like page 50, why would I continue? Even 50 pages to me even seems like so much. Depending on the length of the book, maybe I would give it more time. Like if it's like a 700-page book, obviously I'm not going to know anything on page 50 just yet.
Yeah, probably not.
But still, if it's like dragging, I need to just like put it down and start something new and then go back to the book that's dragging. Because that's when I also get really slumpish, when something is just moving at a snail's pace and I'm sitting there like, this is boring. I like exciting things. I
Right.
like the action to happen up front. That doesn't always happen in stories. I would like it to, but there's this thing called a slow burn. Slow burns aren't always my favorite. Sometimes it works well. Sometimes it's just like too slow. So if I'm not vibing with the book, I just need to, put it out of my brain and be like, goodbye, pick up something new. That's what I have to do next year.
That's fair. I think that's a good idea. I will also probably be utilizing some of that because for my next year, I want to try and read outside my comfort zone.
So what, you're going to start reading romances?
I mean, I might try.
You should read Bridgerton.
I've heard it's good. Well, you've told me it's good.
I mean, yeah, the books are fine. The Bridgerton books are fine. I don't know if they'd be your cup of tea, but...
Well, I don't know. I mean, when I think back and I listen to some of our old episodes, I just hear myself always talking about fantasy and more fantasy with like one detective book here and there. So I want to try to branch out a little bit more. I would like to expand my horizons beyond fantasy, and maybe I can work that into my challenge that I'm creating for myself. Maybe I could do like one of those 3 a month is not fantasy, not sci-fi, and just go from there. Because there's so many other things like historical fiction. I definitely know I would like reading more of that. I guess romance, why not? I don't know, just everything. There's a million different genres out there nowadays, it feels like. So,
Yeah, I mean, you don't know if you like a genre until you try it. Like, I have tried sci-fi so many times, and every time I hate the books. So I just feel like sci-fi is not my genre. But I went back to fantasy this year, and I discovered that I like fantasy because before reading ACOTAR and Throne of Glass and all that kind of stuff, I did not think I would like that much fantasy, but I do. And I read fantasy books that aren't even romantasy either. So I've discovered I like fantasy, discovered I don't like sci fi. I already knew I liked romance. Thrillers are a no brainer. I love a thriller. Give me anything with murder in it, and I love it.
I think that's my untapped market that I haven't really ventured too much into.
Like a true thriller,
Yeah.
like with murder and blood and like showing the crimes.
Right. I think that's the part that I definitely could get into. And that's why I want to stop myself from just going towards fantasy because I already know I like it. So I want to branch out more.
You should definitely do that. I highly recommend. I would also like to stop trying to rush through books. Sometimes I reach the end of a book and my eyes just start skimming. I don't even tell my brain to skim. My brain just starts skimming the pages because I want the book to be done. So I'm trying to intentionally read the endings of books slower so I can actually absorb what is happening at the end. For example, the book I just finished, Christmas in Aspen, I wanted to rush through the ending, but I took my time and I actually enjoyed the ending a lot. And I'm glad I took my time. So I want to bring more of that energy into the other books that I read. Because I don't know what it is, but just the anticipation of being at the end of the book. And I'm like, oh, I can finish it.
Right.
I can check this off my list. I'm done. I just start reading so fast that I'm not really taking in what's happening. I'm just like, oh, yeah, this happened. I'm done.
Well, I think also, especially when there's some sort of big reveal that you know that's coming towards the end, it's very easy to want to read faster because you're like, oh, I want to know what finally happens. Or especially that happens to me a lot with changing perspective. I'm like, hurry up and get to the next person, which I know is coming up. I want to read that person. So I definitely get that one. That's a good one. One of the things that I know I want to do is try to do a better job of sticking with a series until I finished it.
Like reading it like one after the other.
Yes. I think The Witcher, I did the mistake of letting The Witcher be my rule rather than my exception because they were written in a way where they did such a recap between them because they were released so far apart, as where with other books that I've read, like some of the Dresden Files, I definitely, now that I haven't read that in so long, I have no idea what's happened. And now I'm like, okay, well, I'll have to go back and read the 2 books over again, just to get back to where I was before. And same thing with the Victor the Assassin series. I really liked that one, and I read the first book. And now I'm like starting to get to the point to where I'm like forgetting certain things. So now if I try to go back and read the next book, I'm going to be probably kind of lost because it's a lot of modern books I feel like don't do the recaps that they do and some of the older ones. But I'm going to try to do a better job of that.
Yeah, I could never do like one series book after the other, like on and on and on. I would need to take a break. Otherwise, I'm going to drive myself into a slump just by reading about the same characters over and over again.
I think that's fair. I mean, part of if I'm reading consistently with this new goal, then maybe I could rotate it into an every other one because it's not going to be as big of a gap. But at the pace that I read right now, I may never get back to that final Witcher book. So that's what I'm trying to correct or get better at, I should say.
You'll get to it. I mean, you can't have forgotten everything that happened.
Hopefully not.
I mean, if you did, just like scour the Goodreads reviews for the previous book, because I'm sure somebody summarizes what happens.
I guess that's true. I could just look up like a synopsis or something.
That's what I do. SparkNote it.
Like a book report?
Yeah, they make SparkNotes for like everything these days. But you keep talking about wanting to like make a reading challenge for yourself. I want to stick to my reading challenges. every year I say that I'm going to do all of these reading challenges on Instagram, and I read like 2 books for the challenge, and then I stop, and it's March, and I just get lazy and I don't continue. And then December comes and I'm recapping my challenges, and I'm like, oh yeah, I only did 2 things for this one. So my goal for 2025 is to actually stick to them and complete them for every single month. And that's also why I'm like hosting a year-long challenge on Bookstagram for 2025, so I can like stick to it. I made it easy. I made like a challenge that I would participate in. So like it's only 1 prompt per month, and each month you just have to read a book that fits the prompt, and most people would already be reading a book that fits the prompt anyway. So it makes it easy peasy, which is the kind of challenge that I like. So I'm going to actually stick to those challenges. The reading planner I bought has some challenges in it. I want to do those because they're in the planner, and that planner's fun. And I feel like I'm just going to be more motivated when it's actually something I'm filling out like on paper. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to stick to these reading challenges. I'm not going to stop after January like I do most years.
I'm going to channel that same energy for my goal. Going to try not to stop after January.
I know. I feel like most people do that with resolutions. Like they make them and then they complete January. February rolls around and they kind of just stop. That's me, at least.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think a lot of people, yes, fit that bill. They say that it takes like 20 days or 21 days or something like that to build the habit. So that's what my goal is I got to just tough it out for at least 21 days to build that habit.
Yes, but like then you build it out until January 21st, and then what happens January 22nd? Like what if you just get lazy that day and you don't do it? Then is the habit just like gone?
I mean, probably. I don't know. I usually stop reading after that piece of advice.
Well, let's just hope it stays.
We'll just have to find out. We'll do our own test. One of the things that I know that I've learned from you that I really want to do in 2025 is use the library. And also Libby, which I do use, but the library. You are like probably their top customer. I don't really know if that's patron, maybe is the better word. You probably know everybody in there, first, middle, last, their relationships, their dogs, their pets.
I don't actually. I just go up to the front desk and I say, hey, I have a hold. And then they give me my hold. And that's about it.
But the amount of times that you've gone in there.
Oh, they definitely like recognize me when I walk in.
That's what I'm saying. Like they know who, like they see your name come up on like the ticket and they're like, I know who this is.
Like, oh, she's back again.
I, on the other hand, have used them 3 times in 2024, something like that. So I definitely want to use them more.
The library is a great resource. You could do a lot of things at the library. You don't just have to check out books. You can check out movies. You can utilize their printers. You can print something for like 10 cents. They've got a lot of cool things. Like you could check out, I think you could also still check out video games. You could check out the little audio cassettes and listen to audiobooks that way if you can't find it online.
On the Walkman.
Yeah, the like the playaways.
Yep.
That the libraries like were used widely for back in the day. The library is a great resource. I love the library.
That's true. I mean, I like it. I just don't use it as much as I should.
You can check out magazines and newspapers from the library too. They got everything.
I also like our library because it's quite big and very modern, I feel like.
It's a lot bigger than I thought it was. I did not realize the first few times I went in there, I did not realize the upstairs was like huge.
Yeah, it's like all of it. Like there's an actual floor with a bunch of stuff up there.
Yeah, their adult section is huge. And we're part of like this huge library district. So like if they don't have a book, that book's going to be available somewhere else that I can check it out. And they'll just send it to the library and I go pick it up. And it's easy peasy and I love it. And it's probably one of the best library systems that I've ever used.
Yeah, seriously. Whoever thought of that idea is a genius.
Yeah,
I don't know how it is.
App.
Right. I don't know how it is logistically. Maybe that's a nightmare, but as a user of the system, it's incredible.
Yeah, I just go on my app and I search what I want and then I say request item and then it's magically at the library for me.
It's also like really fast. It's usually like 2 days or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's if I don't have to wait in line. Sometimes I'm like 100th in line and then I have to
True.
wait months.
Yeah. Or if you're like me, and when I requested a textbook, I was the first one ever. So they had to like create a binding for it and submit it to the library. And I had number 1 of 1.
But at least they still had the textbook for you to check out.
Yeah, it was nice. I went there and they were like, "Oh, we have to make that for you." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean, our library is also an academic library, so they have that stuff.
Yeah, textbooks and things like that. I did peruse the one time we went there, their like textbook section, and it actually had a lot of like new stuff, which I was kind of surprised about. I feel like a lot of times you can find older, like, going back 5-ish years, but there was like 2023 and 2024 stuff in there too, which I thought was kind of surprising.
Well, they must have a good textbook budget. They are across the street from a high school.
That's true.
So in 2025, I also want to read more of my physical shelves, which hurts me to say. It would mean I go to the library less, but I need to read my actual books that I own.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
I need to. And on top of that, I also need to use my Kindle Unlimited subscription more because I pay for that. It's like $12 a month and I pay for that. And I feel like I don't use it to its full potential. So I might have to take a pause on going to the library. But sometimes the book I want to read, I don't own it or I can't find it on Kindle Unlimited. So then I have to go to the library. So the library will still be seeing me. It's just they might not be seeing me as often because I want to use these other resources.
How ironic. I'm going to be spending more time there and you'll be spending less time there.
I mean, in reality, I probably won't be spending less time there, but
No, probably not.
I'm making it a goal to read more of my physical shelves in 2025. I actually want to read them. Because I have so many books that I've received from publishers, I've received as gifts, I bought myself because I really want to read them. And I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But that's the problem of a mood reader sometimes. It's like I acquire these books and then I own them, but then I don't read them because I'm not in the mood for them when I acquire them.
That's a tough system to be a part of, I would say.
It is. It is. But Kindle Unlimited, I need to make time to read Kindle Unlimited books. There's a lot of indie authors on Kindle Unlimited that I should read because I've heard great things about them. And there's a lot of really popular books on Kindle Unlimited too, like New York Times bestsellers, like some hyped Bookstagram books are on Kindle Unlimited. So I feel like I need to take advantage of that because not everything stays on Kindle Unlimited forever. So I need to peruse that KU library some more.
I think that's fair. Mine goes hand in hand with that, which is I need to utilize digital reading more. I feel like I quite often get hung up on I don't have the book, so I'm just going to not read it. Or I'll look online and it'll be like $7 for the Kindle version. And I'm like, well, I might as well just get the actual book. And then the actual book is more expensive. And then I'm like, well, I don't need it. It's too expensive. Like I essentially talk myself out of reading it.
But why are you buying books when you can go to the library?
Well, that's true. But unfortunately, none of the libraries have the book that I wanted, I was looking at the Victor the Assassin series.
You should look for it on Hoopla, which I just put on the iPad.
Yeah, now that we have it.
They have some pretty niche things.
But I should allow myself, if I really want to read the next version, to just get the Kindle version and stop obsessing of trying to find the absolute best deal imaginable. And then when it's not the deal that I want, just being like, well, I just won't read it now.
I don't mind spending money on books because I'm supporting an author. And unless you're like a Sarah J. Maas, you are not making millions of dollars as an author.
Or Stephen King.
Yeah. Like unless you have like 6-7 figure book deal as an author, you're not making that much. So when I buy your book, I'm supporting you.
That's fair. Maybe that's how I should picture it. And just you're supporting this person, so you should buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, just buy it. Stop
Just gonna
trying to be
spend a
cheap.
bunch of money. Maybe that's what I need to make this goal is stop being cheap. Buy more books.
Buy
That's what
more
I'm hearing.
books. Books
Got
make
it.
everything better. But I would love to clear off some of my shelves and donate books that I don't love to make room for books that I do love, aka room for books that I want to purchase or books that I am gifted. Book mail randomly shows up here sometimes, so got to make sure I have room for that. So I've tried the whole selling books thing. They don't always sell quickly because some titles people aren't really looking for. So I just need to find some little free libraries or just like take a box to the library and be like, here you go. Do with it what you will because I don't want these.
I guess I never thought about that. Libraries will just like take your book.
Yeah, you can ask them like if they're accepting new book donations, and then some of them will either save them for a used book sale or they will actually put them into circulation.
Cool. I don't know why. I just never thought of that being a thing. So
Yeah, it's a
Cool.
public library. They don't always have a lot of funding, so they will happily accept book donations.
makes sense. Next up on my list is utilizing StoryGraph more because I am not super great about updating it. But probably the more important factor is actually writing reviews.
I love writing reviews. It's how you remember what you thought of the book.
I have never really liked writing reviews on just about anything like TV, movies, anything that I've like watched before and people like ask me. I'm always like, yeah, that's good.
Well, you don't have to like write like a critiquing type of review. You can just write, I liked this because of this, this, and this.
Right. And that's what I'm telling myself is like I don't have to go so in depth like I see other people. I can just write what I liked about it. And if it's one thing or two things, great. And if it's, I didn't like it, I can write that I didn't like it. Just reminding myself that it doesn't have to be this overly complex review where I'm dissecting every little piece of information. I can just like write a couple of words or two sentences. So I don't know if I'm going to lump that into my challenge. I think that's a little overly ambitious for me, but that's like a side challenge. See how many reviews that I actually write.
Usually I try to mention when I write a review what I thought of the characters, like character development, character actions, the setting, the plot, like if there's a plot twist or something that was unexpected, what I thought of that, and also the writing, like the author's writing style. Like, did you enjoy it? Like, would you read more books by that author? All that jazz. Just to like, not like fluff up your review, but to like actually make it so if another reader reads your review, they like kind of know the gist of the book.
Well, see, that's another point that I've thought to myself, which is these are just going to be on my StoryGraph, so nobody's going to read my reviews. So it's not like they have to be that good. It's really just going to be for myself.
I guess, but like, what if someone is just scrolling through reviews for the book and yours is there? Because once you review a book, your review is listed under the book.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're just going to be like, wow, this guy gave kind of a not great review. There's like 5 words in here. It said, I like book good.
Yeah, I've.
One of the problems that I have is that's what I do. I see these massive reviews where it's like 500 words and these people have written the most elaborate explanations while not giving away any information.
Yeah.
They're like wordsmiths.
You
I mean,
see,
you do it all the time.
Yeah, but like I don't write like super elaborate ones. Sometimes I don't know what to say either, and I'm just like, yeah, I liked it. Sometimes a book is just vibes, and all you can say is, I liked it. If it's part of a series, I'm going to read the rest of the series, or I'll just give like one sentence of like something I liked about the book.
See, that's what I'm going to start with, is allow myself to just write something, and then over time, if it develops more and becomes maybe a little more elaborate or there's more talking points, then great. And if not, that's great too. I try to set very attainable goals for myself.
I think when you set attainable goals, you are more likely to achieve those goals.
That's true.
Like, I'm not going to set a goal that is highly unrealistic for myself because I will never reach that goal. Like, it's good to challenge yourself, but I'm not going to make some wildly unrealistic goal like read more sci-fi, because that's not going to happen. I'm not going to read
Right.
more sci-fi.
Exactly. That's why I didn't read one book a week. I think that's probably too much for me. It's very ambitious, and I think I could challenge myself, but dialing back just a little bit is probably more of my comfort zone.
Yes. And in 2025, I want to read more books by indie authors, independently published authors, because I feel like they're the ones who deserve a lot of love. Because the more people who hype up their book, the more likely they could be to get like a traditional publishing contract and actually be traditionally published. So it's always good to support those tiny authors and their dreams.
That's true. I think that's a great goal.
So I'm very excited for 2025. We have a great list of goals. You've got some great goals. I've got some great goals. Now we just have to meet those goals.
That's true. I did write down my goal. Did you see it in there?
I did see that you made an actual goal.
Read 3 books a month, which is 1 book every 10 days, with a goal of 36 for the year. Right? Did I do my math right there?
I don't know.
3 times 12? Yeah, 36.
I mean, I make numerical goals every year. This year my goal was 100. I'm already at 144. So next year my goal is 130 books, because obviously 100 was too low.
144 books this year?
Yeah.
That is an average of like 2 books, or a book every 3 days, I think.
I don't know. All I know is that I mostly read like 12 to 13 books a month.
That's so many books.
Well, a lot of them have been like shorter novellas this year. They still count as books.
I mean, yeah. You've also read some really big ones, though. I've seen the huge ones on the shelf. Also, the one you're reading right now, that one's massive.
I'm doing my A Court of Wings and Ruin reread. I've been doing this reread for months now, and I finally had a hankering to pick up this book again. So I'm on page like 200, and I have 500 more pages to go.
That is the part that scares me the most about that series, is that book specifically.
I mean, it's good. I just wasn't in the mood for it when I started my reread, but I was like forcing myself to. But now that I'm like in the mood for it again, I'm like, okay, this is coming along nicely. I'm speeding along. I'm in the mood for it, but I might put it down again to read the next book in that Holiday Acres series that I was talking about at the beginning, because it's short and sweet and I'm in the mood for just something short.
That's fair.
Because 700 pages is a lot of pages.
That is a tremendous amount of pages. I did jump the gun a little bit. I was getting towards the end here. So before that, what is your current obsession?
My current obsession is the Cozy Christmas Fireplace live on YouTube.
I can't believe I had forgotten about that. I was wondering what your obsession was going to be this week.
It's all I want to put on the TV. There's just something about it that makes me focus more. I don't know if it's the crackling fireplace noises, or the fact that there's a screen on in the background, or the fact that it's like dark but not dark in the room I'm sitting in because the TV is illuminating the space. It's just cozy and it feels like a real fireplace. It's the only fireplace one that I want to have on the TV. Like, I will scroll until I find it because it is the best one. I don't like the ones that are just the logs with the fire, because I need like the fireplace setting, because I don't have a fireplace. So I need to see the fireplace.
Right. You got to get the whole vibe, not just fire.
I just don't want the logs, because the logs aren't just going to be sitting on my TV stand by themselves, lit on fire. That's dangerous. They would be in a fireplace. So that's what I've been enjoying with my cozy, fluffy blanket, some hot chocolate. I'll do that tonight, probably. What are you obsessed with?
I got a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, I know. I keep hearing that thing all day long. It's click, 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 click.
And I've been pretty obsessed with that. It has been the perfect, like, fidget distraction for myself. Like when I'm waiting for somebody to send me something, or waiting in a meeting before people join, or I'm just like bored for 5 minutes, I just mess with it, and it's been so much fun. I also want to be able to solve one quickly, because my younger cousin is really good at them, and I need to be able to one up him. So
I don't think you'll ever one up him because
No.
he has like trapezoid looking ones.
he is also incredibly fast. So, and he's young, so he's got the squishy brain that can just absorb all the information and remember all the different things you have to do.
Yeah, if you entered him in a Rubik's Cube competition, I think he would win.
He'd definitely beat me, that's for sure.
He would win for like owner of the most Rubik's Cubes.
That too. He has so many. But I just got mine off Amazon. It was like $6. Nice and cheap, just fun.
Yeah, Rubik's Cubes, I don't understand because like I move them and they all like the squares get messed up. And then it makes me mad because I'm like, how did this square get here? It doesn't even belong here. And then you try and put it back where it belongs. And I'm like, it's not going back where it belongs.
It has taken me a very long time, and I still don't quite understand like that concept of what you just talked about. Being like, I see this square here, I'm gonna move it to this section, and like
Yeah.
know that I've done it properly.
Like on your Rubik's Cube that's sitting there, how is that red square randomly in the middle of a blue and a green and an orange and a white? And it belongs on the completely opposite side.
Well, this one's almost done, but yeah, that's the next part.
And that random blue one right there too.
I figured out because it's all algorithms. This is the Wikipedia for the day. It's all algorithms. So you follow these very specific set of instructions, and they're designed to put certain things in certain places. And obviously, I can't just put this here. I have to then put this one here. And so that's how it all works. And it is math, I think, is how it was originally designed, was mathematical movements and things like that. But that's what they're called, is algorithms.
My brain just can't comprehend that. So I'll never be able to complete a Rubik's Cube. I had a Rubik's Cube when I was younger and I messed it all up, obviously. And I could never put it back together again. So it's just sitting somewhere all messed up.
Well, the fun part for me this time around, because I've had a Rubik's Cube for a long time and I knew how to do the beginner's way, as they call it, to solve it. And then I found out there's a more advanced way. And then now I found out there's a speed cuber's way. And there's an easy version of that and a hard version of that. And so I've been messing around with that. And it's really all just memorization. Like if you have a good memory, you can figure it out. But to get the level beyond that and like understand how the squares move the way they do, that's the part that like eludes me. I'm just doing like memorization basically. And that part's fun. But you're right, I have been like, my fingers were actually kind of sore the other morning when I woke up because I was just messing with it for like 5 hours straight.
Which blows my mind. So everyone knows what I'm reading this week. I'm reading my Echo War reread. But what are you reading this week?
I am listening to The Hobbit, like I mentioned, but I've also picked back up the Titan's Curse came off hold again because I never finished it from before. So I had to put that on like a 3-day wait, or I think I did 5 days, so I could hurry up and finish The Hobbit. But I'm also trying to pick back up the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter that got put by the wayside when we traveled. And so now that I'm back, I want to get back to that. But I'm trying to keep it light this time. I'm focusing on The Hobbit and I'm focusing on Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Sounds good. So we have some great current reads. We have some great bookish goals for 2025. I'm excited to snack all night on New Year's Eve. And I'm ready to go sit in front of my cozy Christmas fireplace. That's what it's called. That is the official name of it on YouTube. Cozy Christmas Fireplace. Drink some hot chocolate. Read my book. I don't know if I'm going to continue with Echo War tonight or pick up the next Holiday Acres book. I'm ready to go do some reading and get all cozy.
I have to go to Target, so I'm probably going to do that.
Oh, well, you see, mine sounds more fun. So I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Stay warm, stay cozy, pick up a good book, and happy reading.